and I have benefited tremendously with collaboration over the years. He is the only person I know of who writes regularly to me. And he's the only person I know of who writes probably to half the people in this room regularly. It's a wonderful thing that he does in that sense. Corresponds with many people. I don't know where he finds the time for it. One of the qualities that has always impressed me was Edsger's way with words, his ability to turn a phrase. For him, words, that's W-O-R-D-S, really has the S at the front of it, S-W-O-R-D. And he's able to cut through the baloney and get at the essence by using the words. The only person I know of who matches this almost is Tony Hoare. For example, one paper that he didn't like started with, as a point of departure, we'll use X's idea. Well, Edsger didn't like X's idea. And in writing a review of this paper, he said, yes, indeed, we will take that advice and depart as far as possible from X's idea as possible. Here's another example from a trip report, and I'll give it in rhyme. And I think this is why Fred started off with his little limerick. It has to do with the fact that historically Edsger has been a meat and potato man with a very sensitive digestive system. Femke, his daughter, the dear, was in Ithaca for over a year. He visited she and Elaine and me a few times during that year. One fatal eve for a lark, she took him with Cynthia Dwark. This is an aside. Cynthia Dwark happens to be a person, I believe, who went with them. She is in this little limerick only because it rhymes well. One fatal eve for a lark, she took him with Cynthia Dwark to a nationally known vegetarian throne. Moosewood was the restaurant. That night, he just couldn't sleep. Food drove through his gut like a jeep. Was it edible? No! Now indigestible. Oh! He wrote at 2:45. Edsger's phrase, late that night, I found out that the food was not only inedible, but also indigestible, has stayed with me for a long time. Now, we all know that Edsger doesn't sit well with everyone, and I've figured out why. There were two reasons. First, he's honest to a fault. There is not a shred of hypocrisy in him, and he has the courage to speak what he thinks. Second, he thinks before he speaks, which is unheard of for most people. Put the one, the powder, with the other, the light, and fireworks ensue. A question will be put to him. There'll be a period of silence while he actually thinks. Then comes an answer that may startle and cut to the quick, not because it was meant to, but because it was truthful and ever so penetrating. Jerry Salton, God rest his soul, said it well after reading one of his trip reports. Edsger's right, but damn it, you don't just say such things. Well, Edsger did, and actually we're all better off because he did. His honesty, his courage, his penetrating mind have helped us all in computer science, whether computer science liked it or not. So here's a few more limericks to go with that. Not all people have taken the time to see Edsger's reason and rhyme. From these very dense louts, we hear so much shouts, beauty's his business, not mine. These people are missing a treat, a commodity rare and upbeat. His ideas are supreme, ways of phrasing, a dream. CS owes so much at his feet. Computational complexity's great, but not so in Edsger's pate. Computing simplicity, elegance, and beauticity are served up on Edsger's plate. Now, I think we've talked all this whole day about Edsger, and something should be said of Rhea. I want to salute Rhea as well as Edsger. Edsger would not have been the man he is without her at his side, supporting him, working with him, keeping him in check, urging him on. We honor him at his retirement. I believe we should honor her as well. Thank you for your help. Stand up, stand up, stand up. Yes, yes, yes. Many of us have a wife, or I should say in these modern days a spouse, upon whom we rely much more than we like to admit. These wives deserve at least half the credit we get, and probably more. Of course, marriage these days, though, don't always last as long as they used to. This one has lasted a long time. I remember telling my son, who just got married 2 years ago, I took him aside the way fathers do, father and son together, you know, and I said, son, this is very important. You only get married 3 times. Well, I didn't really say that. So let me end. There's a lot of speakers on here, so I won't say half of what I would like to about these two, because they've meant so much to me. So let me end with a few more limericks to both of them. To Rhea and Edsger, a pair, your lives have been ever so rare. As one have you prospered, and C.S. fostered. It's one life that together you share. We salute you as one, O our friend, but we know this is not yet your end. Retirement, yeah, but goodbye, not a prayer. It's not at all your last amen. There's no need for us to shed tears. You'll be with us for many more years. We laugh with you now. Of you two, we're so proud. To Rhea and Edsger, 3 cheers. Is that okay?
So David, I want to let the cat out of the bag. There were 4 people at that dinner at Moosewood. I felt terrible. But I ended up marrying somebody else. The next speaker is somebody who knows Edsger in many, many contexts. And if Greece is a ham, this is the real ham, Hamilton Richards.
Well, Jay asked whether I would give a short speech at this banquet, months ago now, and I could hardly refuse. It's the least I could do to honor a great friend, and the ambiguity in that phrase is quite deliberate. And of course the honor's mine. But then I began to wonder what I would do with my 8 minutes, which is what Jay allotted me. I could add my little epsilon to the tributes that have been pouring in, well-deserved as they are. But I decided maybe it would be better to do something that perhaps I was in a slightly unique position to do, for whatever it's worth. So maybe you'll bear with me for a few reminiscences. I mean, it's only about 7 minutes left. So. I haven't known Edsger for as long as many of you, or worked with him as closely as many of you. The distinction that I claim is that, as far as I know, I'm the only person who has